right, here we go. Looking good. Excellent connections. Let's get here, make sure we got good audio. Making sure the audio is good. All right, get that out of the way. Brad is in the house. Let's play a song. Let's see if we can get some good audio. This should be working. I mean, it looks like it works. I don't know. There we go. Yes. Welcome back. Yes, indeed. Woodshed on a Tuesday, literally just wrapping up a session here for legendary producer. Guys need to look him up. He's incredible. Rudy Perez, founder of the Latin Grammys. I was blessed enough to meet Rudy not too long ago on a session. I was working with the guys, the Gary LaVox guys, and we cutting some stuff up at the studio that is owned by the Mercy Me guys. So if you needed name drops, I just took the bucket full of names, dumped them all out, threw them on the table. That's the name drop for the day. But I was just finishing up this session with Rudy today that should have been done last week. But due to being on tour, luckily he was so great to talk to and work with. He's like, man, I want you to play guitar on this stuff. I said, man, I'd love to do it. I gotta be on tour and do some things ahead of time. So last week was a big week, and I got to go to North Carolina, Wilmington, Raleigh, and play with my good friend and blues monstrosity, Seth Rosenblum. And took Andy Campbell and Mr. Ben Eller. We went over to North Carolina, played some tunes. Now, Saturday night, we did Skankbanger, which is the, you didn't hear that wrong. It is called Skankbanger. That's our, 80s tribute thing that we do. Kind of fun, costumes, the whole deal. And then Sunday night was a big night for me. You guys know I'm a huge Brent Mason fan. And I got a call to play the Cannery in Nashville. They wanted to hire me to do my thing. And obviously we were on tour with Seth. I was like, well, this would be great. I've already got my opener built in. So Seth was there. And so last night, I wanted to put together a special show, and not just me doing my thing, but just really something special. I don't get to play Nashville too often. And I wanted to have some guests there. The song I just played is called Master Gracie's Manor. And I co-wrote that with Eli Bishop, the really clever B section. That little thing, which is really kind of fun. It's got the gypsy jazz kind of thing. Eli brought that to the table. So me and him kind of meandered through that, and I was like, man, that's a really great thing, So I wanted to have Eli on the gig. Jim Riley played on that song, so Jim was on the gig. Originally, Mike Hicks was going to be on the gig, but Mike's grandmother passed, unfortunately. Mike, if you're seeing this, love you, brother. Hope your family's got some kind of peace and love going on in these tough times. So he was supposed to be on the gig, but Steve King, not the author, not the guy that writes the books, keyboard player, came out and played. And the legendary Brent Mason. I hit up Brent to come and play, and I just thought I would talk about my experiences meeting my heroes over the years today. I've been so lucky, man, to cross paths with my heroes. And as my career has done things and grown, more and more of my heroes have become a bigger part of my life, both on stage and off, And I thought it'd be fun to kind of just tell a couple of stories about, the old saying, don't ever meet your heroes, right? There's that chance that they could be, just bags of turds, and they're not. I've been very lucky. I've been very, very lucky. All my heroes have been very, very cool. So last night was we'll start there. Really special night of music because we had so many great musicians and guests and whatnot. And then, Brent did the solo last Tuesday. Free Range Chicken came out, and the new video's cool. And Brent did a solo on this, so he was going to come out last night and play the tune with us. Or sorry, Sunday night. I keep saying last night, Sunday night. That's how fried my brain is. Sunday night. And I was being there, it's like we're not just going to be like, hey, Brent, play one tune and then go home, go back to the house. It's like once he's up here, let's just get after it. So get after it we did. And I probably, like a lot of you guys, grew up worshiping at the altar of Hotwired and the Nashville Cats records. On Hotwired, there's a really great tune called Blowin' Smoke, and I love that tune. I've loved it forever, So that tune right there has always been like this, like really, it's like Hot Wired's the one that everybody's like, oh, Hot Wired. But like, I always thought Blowing Smoke just had cool changes, It just had a cool vibe to it. And then it went into the chicken picking. And it was like a tune for me that kind of, in a lot of ways, reached back to that Dregsy thing where it was like, it's funky and has this clean, funky thing going on, this funky chicken picking thing, but it also has all these like dirt leads and soaring rock and stuff in it too. So for sure, I was like, hey, Brent, can we play that? So we played it, and I worked it up. I'll tell you this is fun. You got to be real careful when you're playing somebody else's music that's designed for just kind of one guitar, because you don't want to be on it and hogging all over their parts, right? You got to be respectful of it. On the flip side, I don't want to be, like playing Blowing Smoke like Brent's playing, and I'm over there just going, or... it's like I don't want it to be kind of like I didn't put any effort into it. And if you remember on Blowing Smoke, there's the octave. That happens like on the underneath the top lick. So I went ahead and learned the whole, all in the next octave up. Okay. So when we started at sound check, he went into it and, we got after it, and I started playing that part an octave up, and he kind of looked over, smiled real big, and kept playing. Man, it just made me feel so good because, it's my hero playing my hero song with my hero kind of thing. Then we played some Working Man, and we played some Bill Withers. We played a Bill Withers tune to jam on. We played a B.B. King tune with Seth. We played, we ended with Going Down because it just kind of, Seth was like, no, let's just do Going Down. I was like, all right. Usually when it comes time to jam tunes, I'm not one to call one that's been played to death, but I was like, whatever. Let's just have some fun. So that was Sunday night. Coolest thing, just like photos that I've got. Amazing. Back here on the wall behind me is the letter that Brent wrote me. I wrote him a fan letter when I was 17 or so, 16 or 17. And he wrote me back. And to this day, I keep that letter on my wall to just kind of remind me to never not be a fan. You know what I mean? Don't ever get to the point where you're not a fan. Don't ever get to the point in the career where nothing is fun and nothing is cool to you and you've seen it all. I've been around musicians that have seen it all and done it all. And, it's like the guys that I really look up to, they still talk about it like it's, they discovered it yesterday. Another great guy like that is Andy Timmons, and obviously Eric Johnson, talking to Eric about Hendrix and, Wes Montgomery and stuff. It's like he's still so in love with it, and that's a bit of why I keep that letter on the wall. Now, with all of that warm, lovey-dovey stuff said, I want to tell you about how long that I avoided meeting Brent and avoided meeting some of my heroes. I didn't start playing guitar till later compared to a lot of dudes. A lot of dudes started playing when they were like, 9 or 10 or whatever. I started playing guitar when I was like 17. I played a lot of mandolin. And I wanted to be Sam Bush and play in a bluegrass band and, play with Del McCurry and like all of these kind of things. That was the stuff that was really, really important to me. And so when I got into electric guitar, I was discovering Steve Vai and John Petrucci when I was freaking 21 years old. Like I didn't even know these guys till later on. And it obviously has a, interesting perspective on what's new, right? Because like most guys in their 20s are already getting out of Van Halen and John Petrucci stuff, but I was like just getting into it, So for the earliest part of my electric guitar playing career that was professional, like through my 20s, I was developing my craft, and I kind of got really pro when I started touring, a lot with Down From Up. And we were opening for like Seven Dust and Drowning Pool and a lot of these like super heavy rock guys. And I'd have an opportunity every now and then to like rub elbows with some famous dudes. I kind of always dodge it. Career goes farther. My career got going. I was playing with, Scott. And that's a big guitar gig, because you're doing the Tremonti thing. And Tremonti has a legion of fans. I mean, Creed right now is hotter, or as hot as they've ever been. So to step into the Scott gig and do that, I was getting to meet more and more like rock icons, like freaking Rex from Pantera. He and I it's kind of nice because, I didn't grow up on Pantera, and we met on a cruise ship. We met on the motorboat cruise. That was the Motorhead. I was playing it, and Rex was on there playing it too. And he's a big guitar guy. Like being in a band with Dime, obviously, you become a guitar guy. But Rex really doesn't. He's not like a metal guitar guy. Like his favorite stuff is Jeff Beck. Like Jeff Beck is one of his all-time favorite dudes. So he come to my show and was kind of like enjoying, my thing, and we kind of hit it off. Okay, cool. Meet hero. Oh, not really a hero, but like somebody I respected very much, but I didn't grow up with their music. So career grows. My relationship with Wampler started, and ironically, it started with this little guy that's got an awful lot of dust on it now. This is my OG Pinnacle. And you can see how dusty it is because I'm using Gearbox for everything. But this thing always stays close to the desk. That's where my relationship with Wampler started. I was looking for a little bit smoother of a tone. When you use amp gain, it tends to be very identifiable. Like the Van Halen thing is obviously amp gain. Petrucci's thing is amp gain. But when guys stack their overdrives with some pedals and a loud amp, it's always so smooth. I think of EJ and Andy Timmons and these guys. I think of those guys. And I was looking for that kind of thing. I found the Pinnacle. Well, Brent is a guy that I would go to Nashville and I would see Brent play at like 3rd and Lindsley. I remember going one night. It was Brent and Mike Stern. I think Keith Carlock was playing drums and Adam Nitti was playing bass. You talk about an absolute firing squad of musicians. Just an absolute group of apex predators. That was a wild night. It was a really cool night. And other nights, I'd go see Brent. He'd be playing, and man, Guthrie Trapp would be in the audience. Freaking monster. Randy Coors be in the audience. Just like guys that were in the audience were the best of the best, much less the dudes on stage like Paul Franklin or whatever. And I use a term called germ. I would never germ. I never wanted to have that opportunity to where I had looked up to a guy my whole life and then him kind of take a dump on me. You know what I mean? Like just poop all over my dreams and be hateful or rude or, be too cool for school. I really always avoided putting myself in that situation. Okay. Well, as my career started going, I was getting opportunities to do more and more high profile gigs, and that really started with like the guitar nerd circles of NAMM shows and things like that, right? So I would go see Brent play, but I would immediately like not hang out, not bother him, never meet him or anything like that. Same with all those guys. Not just a Brent thing, but just anybody I really looked up to. If I went to see Eric Johnson. I've seen Eric play live maybe 7 times, and that's a lot because Eric doesn't tour every single year. But I always would see Eric. Never wanted to bother him. Never wanted to meet him. It was just like finally these opportunities started coming around where I couldn't weasel my way out of it. And I remember the first time I met Brent, I was doing a thing for Brian Wampler, and we hadn't done Gearbox yet, but we were talking about it. And Brian was like, "Hey man, we come in I think I had Truth and Lie out. I think Truth and Lie was a record that was out at the time." And, he was like, "Hey, I got you down for, the 3:30 spot or the, 4 o'clock spot or whatever." He's like, "Brent's going to go on right after you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'm glad I'm not going on, and I'm glad he's not going on before me." Right. And man, I was finishing up my last tune and I just kind of see out of the corner of my eyes, like, there he is. He's watching me play, and I kind of laughed because I was like, well, he's going to know that I need to owe him royalties on about 85% of every lick that I'm about to play. Because I feel like all I do is play my heroes' licks. I mean, I guess that's really what we all do, and it ends up being our own gumbo. But, you know, there he was, couldn't avoid it. So finally we hung out, and he was the nicest guy on planet Earth. Like, the nicest, most chill, most humble guy. And since then, man, that was probably 14 years ago. And since then, Brent has, you know, been a part of our Woodshed community and been a part of my life, you know, with the musical adventures I've been tackling. And him and Julie are just two of the sweetest human beings on the planet, and so chill, so easy to hang with, and just love to talk music and picking. I'll give you a couple other stories too, while we're kind of just shooting the bull here on a Tuesday. First time I met Andy Timmons, I'll tell you this one. This is a good one because Andy's really special to me. He's a dear friend, and I just genuinely just love that guy so much. He's the kind of guy I've always kind of called Andy Obi-Wan. Like, see how Obi-Wan does it. You know, me and Ben will be cutting a record, or, you know, I'll be with my buddy Travis Wyrick, who is a, you know, world-renowned producer. Like, Travis, you know, big metal records. He's done some big rock metal records, especially in like the Christian metal world. Travis is, we'll be over there cutting a record, and he's like, man, let's try to get some other kind of sound. I was like, hey man, let me see what Obi-Wan used for the whatever on this. And I get online. So Timmons doesn't realize how much he has helped me over the course of the 14 years or so that I've known him. Maybe 11 years now, something like that. It's definitely more than a decade. And I'll tell you this, it was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I first got to meet Andy Timmons. I was doing a gig with the Raleigh Music Academy, and Raleigh Music Academy is run by Paul Warren. Paul is a sweetheart of a guy. Luckily, I got to see him this week. We have some hilarious stories, because when I met Paul, I was on the road with a rock band, and I was wild. You know, so we got some funny stories to tell, and things, I guess, probably, you know, get us all in trouble if they ever came out. But man, he was like, hey, I want to get you on the gig, and I want Andy Timmons on the gig. And I was like, oh wow, man, freaking Andy. You know, I think Resolution had just come out when he did the clinic with me. It was really close to that time. And he came in, this is pre all of the things he's got now with like the JHS pedals and the Keeleys and all that stuff. I mean, Andy came in with a very homebrew pedal board, and it had a couple of these big old Memory Men units, and they barely worked. I remember he got them out, and they were like messing up, and finally he got it, you know, kind of held together to where they would do the thing, and he was like, all right, nobody touch anything. This is good. And he hit that first chord, and it just sounded like amazing, like a religious experience. Like, Andy Timmons has one of the most beautiful guitar sounds I've ever heard in my life. And I'm not saying that there is a best guitar tone, but if there was, Andy probably has it, you know, especially on that like pseudo, not clean, not dirty kind of tone. And that's the first time I met Andy, and you know, walk in. And Andy really had an impact on me over the next couple of days there at Raleigh. I tell you, from my perspective, I showed up. I had this old KSR. At the time, it was called a Rhodes. It still has the Rhodes faceplate. They were called Rhodes amplifiers. And it's kind of like this fire-breathing Gainosaurus kind of tone. And I was so ready to play. I felt like my chops were up, and I was just ready. I was playing clean and fast and had all the circus tricks. I felt good. And we sit down to do a clinic together, you know, for the school, and he hits the first chord, and it's just one of these like super lush, you know, totally like Andy kind of things, you know. Get a little more level there, you know. He does like one of those, and like the whole room just kind of stops, and it was just like the echo, and everything was beautiful. And he's like, all right, let's play. And I immediately just wanted to go home because I was like, this guy just smoked me. And we didn't even start playing yet. And it was so important to get my teeth kicked in that 42 seconds because it showed me that you've got to have great tone. You've got to have a great voice on the instrument. And that means having things dialed in your ear. It's not something you go by. I mean, I've watched Andy play a million different pedals. I love the Halo. I mean, I'm using it right now. Like, I think it's great. But I've watched him do the thing with a couple of old memory men. I watched him do it with a Strymon timeline for most of the time that I've known him. Like, he had that timeline going, and that was like the main delay that he had. And it was amazing to just learn so much in like this 30-second moment of time. Now, fast forward, Andy and I have become good friends, and he has really just been a light for me, like a just a good guy. Another guy that's part of our community, our Woodshed, family, and a guy that just, his focus is on composition and musicality, and that is always the aspiring thing to be around. You're kind of, you, me, we are results of our environments. And the more you're in the environment that may be around a comparison-based thing or this is good, this is not good, negative kind of thing, and not really just being like, it's all kind of good, it's just where does it fit? And Andy's focus is so much about music that's on a deeper level than are you good at the instrument or not. Like that, yeah, that's part of it. Like technical facility is part of it, but it's not the thing. The thing is like Andy's songs are great. It's like, I'm not. I was like. I mean, that's beautiful. And I'm no Andy Timmons, He's got all the like rippers too. Sorry, what's that look? That's it. Like he's got so many great things that he brings to the table that are not lick oriented or like chops oriented. They're just great melodies and great songs and great ideas. It was fantastic. I see here in the chat, I'm trying to watch the chat as I tell you guys some stories about meeting my heroes. Guthrie Govan, the Guthrie Govan stories. These are good, man. How I met John Suhr, who is one of my heroes. John Suhr he's not just this guy that builds amps and guitars. And he's not this guy that like I'm endorsed. I endorse his company. Like, that's all kind of BS, really. It's like when you choose to play a piece of gear and you say, hey, my musical statement is this piece of gear, that's the endorsement right there. It's like, your voice hinges on the gear. So, and that because that's what you're going to play your music with. So before you even have these business arrangements, if you live and die by the Stratocaster, it's like, there's your endorsement. You freaking, that's the tone that you seek. John Suhr is a great guy and so smart. He's hyper intelligent and he's a brilliant engineer, and he chases making things play well and sound good and be consistent, be roadworthy. It's like John does all these things. And I've been a part of that company for a long time now, really long time. And we've built some great things. I'm so proud of our compressor. I'm so proud of these guitars, and, the customers like them, people love them. And that's really amazing. I'll tell you how I met John, and that's the Guthrie Govan thing too. It's all kind of related here. Back in the day, there was a forum called Petrucci Forum in like the pre-Facebook days, pre-MySpace days. There would be like, Harmony Central, was a Rig Talk was one that I was on all the time. And my gamer tag on Xbox was also my handle on like Harmony Central and Rig Talk. My gamer tag was Van Hellion. And to this day, it's Van Hellion, right? And that was my name on Rig Talk and HRI, which was another forum, Petrucci Forum. And so I was young, man. I was in my 20s, and I had practiced a lot, and I was starting to gig a lot, and I was, Down From Up was starting to do its thing, and we were in that cycle of life in that moment in time, and I wanted to have a MySpace page that wasn't just the band's page. I wanted one for me, as we all did, and I made a song and recorded it called Chelmsford. And that song ended up on my first record, but it was recorded by itself. I wanted to, I reached out to Adam Nitti and Jeff Sipe that played with Jimmy Herring, and they played on it. And I posted that song as like I posted it on Petrucci Forum, something like that. And Ed Yoon was working for Suhr at the time. Ed was a big forum guy. His name was Alex Kahn on the forums. He was a big history buff, so like the Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, so it was Alex Kahn. And Ed would, I remember like I just got on Petrucci Forum one day, and Alex Kahn said, "This is the greatest guitar player that's ever lived." And I was like, all right, I'll click on it. And I clicked on it, and it was the Tone Merchants videos from Guthrie Govan. And it was the Fives and the Wonderful Slippery Thing and all this stuff. This is like pre-Erotic Cakes, or maybe Erotic Cakes had just been made or something like that. And I remember my life changing in an instant. My musical life just was like, whoa. I had never really been like a tapping kind of guy. And I was hearing all these crazy lines, and I was like watching him do it, and it just looked bonkers, and like, more importantly, it sounded so melodic and bubbly. A lot of the reason I don't like trick style playing is it sounds like a gimmick. Like it just sounds shoehorned in. It never really sounds fun. It always, to me, I don't like tapping and trick style playing, whether it be sweeping or hybrid, whatever gimmick technique thing that there is that you're doing, tuning to whatever. Like, I don't care. I don't like it when it sounds like it's shoehorned in, and it sounds like you're taking yourself so seriously. Like a lot of the guys that do the hand on that neck, and it's everything's tapped and it's harmony. A lot of times that to me would just sound better with two guitar players. I don't mean that it's not impressive. It's like freakishly impressive. I just think it sounds better when you have two guitar players. Just like when one of the things that I love is like twin fiddles. Like, I just think the sound of two sounds really great because you get the phonetic of the pick, right? And you lose the phonetic of the pick when you start tip-tapping. And Guthrie had this bubbly, warm, happy kind of sound in his tapping. And I was like, golly, dang, this guy's a monster. Then I see him play Rhode Island Shred. And I'm like, Jesus, can he chicken pick too? And then I see him do the slapping stuff. And I was like, oh my God. And it's just like the box kept unfolding, right? Just everything that Guthrie could do. And I do say this. I don't choose favorites because every musician that I love, they've got songs that they wrote that are so good that there is no comparing. Like, how do you say that Eruption's better than Cliffs of Dover, that's better than, The Prayer of the Answer, or better than Hot Wired? They're all just different things that sound great, that are great songs. There's no such thing as the best, really, when it comes to music. However, with that said, if there was an alien invasion and humanity's last hope is a shred-off with an alien guitar player, I will say, put Guthrie in. Help us, Guthrie Govan. You're our only hope. Like, he is the guy that he is a truly limitless player. And I stand by that. So, long roundabout way, Chelmsford was my song that I ended up writing for fun as like an homage to Guthrie, tip of the hat. It was that thing where it's like, it changed my life so much. Cause at that point, I was like really chicken picking and maybe some light rock stuff. Not like light rock, but like I hadn't gone way in on the crazy technique stuff. And it really changed my life musically. So I wrote the tune Chelmsford with all of the things that I had obviously stolen from Guthrie. Even the head of the tune has that thing. I haven't played this thing in 10 years, but like I think the head of the tune was it had all those kind of things in it, right? And it had the cheeky fusion. Had all these kind of things, right? So when I released the tune, Ed Yoon found it. And I don't know how. I have no idea. Ed Yoon found the tune, was like, hey, Andy, this is Alex Kahn or whatever. He's like, yeah, it's Ed Yoon. My handle on Petrucci Forum is Alex Kahn. And, I work with the company Suhr Guitars. And I don't know if you've checked out what we do, but, we make some really great guitars. And if you'd ever like to try one out, we'd love to just see what you think about it. I was blown away. I had two Tom Anderson guitars at the time, and I was shopping for a 24 fret guitar. And I had never really loved the Ibanez thin, like super thin neck because of the shoulder or something. Obviously it works for Steve Vai, really well. But like for me, it just didn't sit in my hand. And they had the Modern coming out. Well, I go to NAMM and pick up a Modern that I had spec'd out. It was not given to me. I had no relationship with Suhr because I didn't have a resume. I was touring in a rock band just like every other dude on the planet. So I didn't have this strong resume that I do now with like all these like accolades and things. So I go pick it up. I meet John. John is not a bubbly personality, but he is very kind. But he's very to the fact. He's like, hey, you like the guitar? I was like, yeah, it's cool, man. I'm like, wow, He's like, well, why don't you go in the... let me show you the guitar. While I'm telling the story, I think it'd be cool to show you the guitar. It was... Which one? Where are you at? Here it is. This was my first Suhr. Right here. This thing needs some strings on it in a bad way. But this was my very first Suhr guitar. And I took it in and I started playing it. And I was like, wow, this thing is sick. Dude, like the fretwork was crazy. And I just played great, whatnot. And let me put it back. So I checked it out and thought it was so cool. John goes, hey, why don't you go in the booth, in the ISO booth, and check it out. Our guy Scott's in there playing. I didn't know what he meant when he said our guy Scott's in there playing. I thought it was some dude that maybe did something at the factory. Hell no. It was Scott Henderson. I go in there and freaking Scott Henderson, I sit down with Scott and I jammed with him for a while. And apparently, Scott, thought that I was a okay player, or told John that I was a good player or whatever. I don't really know. I'm not answering for Scott, but apparently he had kind words to say about me. And my relationship started to grow, and they started like throwing me some opening spots for Guthrie. This is another really important point in my life. I may be open for Guthrie, 8 or 9 times on some clinics. And I got my teeth kicked in every single clinic every time I played. And it was the best thing that happened to me. It was really, really great because it was just an education. It's like, all right, man, you got to work on your time feel. All right, man, you got to work on this. okay, dude, you got just like, I was just an education. And all of these moments, these guys, all of them so kind. Guthrie is so kind. Actually, talked to him not too long ago, and he is just the sweetest guy on the planet. I love hanging out with him. We've done, plenty of times where we just sat around and drank beer and talked about music and did nothing. It was just like, he's a great, great hang. And another great moment that kind of evolved as my career was going. One year, Marco Minimum, who lives close to the Suhr factory and obviously plays drums in the Aristocrats, he was at the Suhr factory party, and he was like, "Oh, you should get on stage and play one, right?" And we get on stage, and kind of, what do you know? Oh, we had this sick singer, and it was at one of the Suhr factory parties, and it's before they were spending all the money to like multi-track it and stuff. So there's not a lot of video footage of it, but like, it was like, hey, let's do the Ocean. And I knew, like, at this point, I knew all the Zeppelin stuff, just like I was ready to go at any moment. So we ended up playing like 4 or 5 Zeppelin tunes. I think we did No Quarter, we did Ocean, we did Black Dog. Like, it was really sick. And so Marco was another great moment, through Guthrie and all those guys. So that's like my story and history with those guys. Really, really great. Meeting my heroes has been really a pleasure. It really has. And the most recent one being the Steve Morse thing, where in all the years that I've worshipped Steve Morse, I've never got to meet him until the other week, and maybe a month ago or whatever. And I wanted to go to the Dixie Dregs and watch the show, and I did, and it was great. And I get that call. Hey, is this Andy? Yeah, man, it's Andy. This is so-and-so. I'm the tour manager for Steve and the Dregs. The boys want you to sit in tonight. Did you bring a guitar? And I was like, of course not. Why would I bring a guitar to a concert? Oh, it's okay. You can play Steve's. So I'd never met Steve. I'm getting ready to go on stage and play with him. What? Crazy. Crazy stuff. Also, I've with the new record specifically, now I've been friends with John for a long time, John Petrucci. And before that, I would say I was acquaintances with him, even though he knew my playing. He had name dropped me in a magazine, and I still have that magazine, framed or whatever, because it meant a lot to me. He said, there's a lot of really great players out there on the internet I'm getting hip to, guys like Martin Miller and Andy James, Andy Wood, Rick Graham, Tom Quill, and he named all of us from Petrucci Forum, because that's where we all met, and I feel like if there's any kind of like my graduating class with my brethren that were in my fraternity, it would be those guys. It would be Rick and Tom and Martin and Andy James. Those are my boys. Like, those are my guys. And we all kind of came out of that scene kind of at the same time. And with this new record, I have to tell you guys this, man. John Petrucci has always been, it's like I've always been on his radar and like an acquaintance or whatever. But he heard, a lot of the demos and stuff. Like, obviously, I got to spend some time with him when he had me as a guest instructor at his guitar event. And he really has helped me on this new record. And I don't mean that from the musical standpoint. I mean that from the helping me on the distribution side, helping me connect the dots with various, with the publicists that I'm using and some of these things. And boy, that means a lot. It's like I grew up freaking Train of Thought and, live at Budokan, and the Liquid Tension stuff. And I think, in my opinion, Suspended Animation record is one of the greatest instrumental rock records ever. That is like I know John has got this Dream Theater catalog thing, but I love Suspended Animation. It's got so many flavors on it. It's really good to me. So to have him kind of take me under his wing on the business side of it, this business can swallow you whole. This business can like just eat your soul if you let it. And these guys are the best, man. They're the best players on earth, and a lot of them are the best humans on earth. And I think guys that are my age and in the scene right now, like Mark Lettieri. Mark is like a brother in the industry to me. Like, I talk to him all the time, and we're lucky that the guys we've met have been so flippin' cool. You know, it's like Luke played on Letterri's record. And you're just like, what? And like Bonamassa played on my new record. I mean, you know, if anything helped create this new record and help me focus my statement, it's Joe. Joe, you know, we were hanging out. My guitar tech with Scott ended up working for Michael Rhodes on the Bonamassa gig. And I was hanging out with Joe one of the first times I met him. He's like, yeah, man, everybody's so good, but what's your statement? And I was just like, yo, he just changed my life. Like, because I realized that like I could play guitar pretty good, but I didn't have a musical statement. I didn't have that thing that made me in the sea of guitar players that are really good guitar players. And it's really just this ocean. Like everybody's good at guitar everywhere. And what does it come down to? It comes down to the tunes. It comes down to what is your statement. What's the musical statement that you want to make? What's the song? And Joe hit me with that and really changed my perspective yet again. And all these little moments kind of, it was like they were magnifications of like listening to people's music and stealing the musical ideas. But like when you're around people in person and you have, you know, a sentence like that Joe has asked himself. He's like, you know, I had to find my statement and I had to find what I look like on stage. And I loved that. He hit me with that sentence too. He goes, I had to find what I looked like on stage. He goes, I was never the good looking guy. And I was like, I never thought about it. And it's like, he's kind of laying this wisdom on you that you never thought about. And, you know, he was really monumental in starting Woodshed Guitar Experience because he agreed to do it, you know, on year one when we didn't have anything to build it on. And Joe was like, yeah, man, I'm happy to come and play. And he's awesome. Like anytime I see somebody just smack talking Joe on a Facebook, I'm like, hey man, get on stage with him and trade solos if you think you got it, because he will cut your knees out from under you. Let me tell you guys this. Anybody in this thread, anybody watching this, I'm going to talk right to the camera. Anybody on YouTube, in the comments section, in the chat, on the internet, if you think that Joe Bonamassa wanks over pentatonics and you can outplay him, get in a room with Joe, whether it be on his stage, in a living room, at a music store, and trade solos with him, because Joe Bonamassa will rinse you. He will turn you into a punching bag. He is one of the best guitar players, one of the bluesiest, sassiest guitar players I have ever heard. And when he wants to light it up and give you visceral technique, he will cut your throat. So do not get it twisted. And I'm always that guy that goes into those chats and is like, hey man, y'all smack talking him? Hold up. Just hold up. Because I've never seen you get on stage with him, because he'll turn you into a punching bag. He is one of my favorite guys to jam with because he is like this elevating force. I've been on stage with Joe with just me and Joe. I've been on stage with Joe with me and Josh and Joe at one of his gigs where he invited me out. I've been on stage with Joe at Woodshed where it's me, Joe, Brent, Timmons, you know, Mark Letterri, Greg Koch, and you're just going down the row of players and we're all trade. And Joe is like pushing everybody into seventh gear. You know, he's that guy, man. That's the thing. General THC says that's horse crap. He will, General THC, I've never heard you play. I don't know you. You could be like Ted Green made over. You could be Sean Lane made over. But let me tell you what you won't do is get on stage and trade with Joe and not be taken to the bank. He is a monster. Absolute monster. And he pushes everybody up, like forward, like his pocket, his phrasing, trading solos, his dynamics, like he is just musical. And some of the highlights from that first year of Woodshed was him kind of going back and forth with like Brent and like, you know, like Greg and him trading solos, because it's not a thing where he has this thing. It's not this stuff or these. It's not that kind of thing. It's just he sounds so good. Every note he plays has like this massive weight to it. And his phrases are so in the pocket. I mean, yeah, I'm seeing people talk right now in the chat about Matteo Mancuso, because Matteo is this freak show that does all this stuff. But notice that it never sounded like Joe was like in the back seat. It wasn't like that. It was just like two different flavors of really, really great. You know, people don't realize this. People don't realize what I'm about to say. Stevie Ray Vaughan was an 80s player. Like his albums came out in the 80s. And I don't think anybody will argue with me when I say that Steve Vai, Eddie Van Halen, and 75% of the other guitar players out at that time had more technical prowess than Stevie Ray Vaughan. Stanley Jordan's, George Benson, more harmonic knowledge than Stevie Ray Vaughan. Well, then why did he stand out? Because it's not about any of that. It's not about the amount of chord voicings you know. It's not about all of the chops that you can do. It's about the musical statement. When you go on stage and you play guitar to entertain with people, to connect with people, to tell people a story. Stevie Ray Vaughan could do that with a tenth of the technical facility of the guys out in the game. And he rose above all those guys in a lot of ways. I don't mean Steve Vai and Eddie Van Halen because they rose. But I mean the sea of other guitar players at that time. Why did Stevie Ray Vaughan cut through the mix? And I think Joe has that. I think that's why he's cut through the mix. You cannot argue with the numbers. The man can play Red Rocks. He can play Radio City Music Hall. He can play Royal Albert Hall. These aren't things where he's playing for 200 guitar players. He's playing for thousands of people that connects with them. That it's the musical statement. That's the most important thing. And that evolves, right? If you look at the early Van Halen records versus Balance, it's not the same statement, but the authenticity's there. That's what matters. And it's the common thread of meeting all my heroes is they're so authentic. Like Brent is so authentic, to what he does. It just undeniably him, I think that's why we're all in love with Matteo right now, because it's so authentic that it's his thing. I think that's why we love Derek Trucks. It's his thing. John Mayer is an interesting one. And I know people love to smack talk John Mayer, but I have to hit you with the cold water yet again. If it was so easy to do what John Mayer does, why didn't you write Neon? Why didn't you write Why Georgia or Gravity? Because it's not easy. It's so much bigger than being good at guitar. It's so much bigger than that. And these guys have their personalities and their souls on the pulse of what is important to them more so than this thing, right? There's chops, right? Because there's a difference between being an athlete and a musician and an entertainer and someone that can connect with other human beings. Think about this, guys. Why in the hell did you want to play guitar in the first place? To connect. And if you didn't want to connect, you would never go out and play it anywhere. It would only be in your house by yourself. You would never tell anybody you played guitar. You would just lock yourself in the room and turn all the lights out and play guitar, but you're connecting. The moment you have guitar anywhere, or you even say, hey, I like to play guitar, what's your favorite music? You're now using that bond to connect with other people. So like Slash, is he the most technically proficient? No, not at all. But can he write the greatest riffs in rock and roll and give you some of the greatest melodies in rock and roll? Yeah, that's undeniable. That is undeniable. some of the greatest rock melodies of all time. I mean, dude, come on, you know, like. Why am I unplugged? What's going on here? What happened? Oh yeah, I got the other guitar. Talking about Slash and some of the greatest melodies of all time, right? You know what I mean? Friggin' Slash could write some great stuff. Iconic. You know, some of the greatest stuff that's ever, and that's just one of them. That's not even the My Michelles or the Night Trains or the Rocket Queens or the Welcome to the Jungles or the Patience, or it's just like, dude could write. He could give you a riff. He could give you something that connected. That's it. You know, when we talk about heroes, oftentimes we put them in a position where they're, and this is where I'm going to leave you guys. Oftentimes we talk about them like they're not real, and we sure get online and like to talk smack to people like they're not real. Say, oh, you're trash. This is trash. Tone sucks. Playing sucks. Whatever. Like there's goblins and trolls everywhere. There's probably going to be some goblins and trolls get on the comments of this video and be like, oh, this sucks. You're stupid. Stop talking. You know, whatever. That's fine. People talk about these guys like they're not real, but they're all real. They're all real dudes. And they all have their heroes. Like the other night, getting to listen to Brent talk about Jerry Reed and how important Jerry Reed was to him was really amazing. It was really inspiring. You just see that DNA kind of go from one to the next, you know, and am I a Brent Mason clone? No, you know, it's like, I'm not a Brent Mason clone, but I've sure spent a lot of time learning Brent tunes. And if I had to walk into a gig that was 90s country right now with no rehearsal, I think I'd be fine because I've learned so many of his songs over the years, but I tried to take it and make it my own thing. I tried to keep all the flavors of the inspirations, but find a way to make my own gumbo, make my own seasoning to the stew, you know, and make my statement. And so I've been very blessed. I have only had just a couple of bad experiences in this industry with actual players. I've had plenty of bad experiences with business people, but with players, it's only been one or two that have rubbed. Most, you know, gosh, so many guitar players are just genuinely great guys. And I'm here to tell you right now that Greg Koch is the real deal. He's the nicest guy on the planet. He will also cut your throat open on stage and let you bleed out in front of everybody. He is a nasty, nasty player. Mark Lettieri is incredible. He is a terrifying guitar player. Nice as can be. Bob Lanzetti that plays with Mark and Snarky, yes, they will rinse you. I love that. They will rinse you, wring you out. You know, that will happen. But the nicest guy, Andy Timmons, is happy to share and spread the love. And John Petrucci and Steve Morse, I can tell you firsthand, these guys are incredible individuals. Brent Mason is an incredible individual. Some of the nicest dudes on the planet, you know, and still love it, you know. And this jumps across the genres too, man. Like freaking Sierra Hull, she's a monster mandolin player, and she is so sweet and so kind. Jason Isbell, man, all my interactions with Jason have been super great. He just loves guitar. You know, he loves music, and we've talked a bit. I'll tell you another one that's been so kind to me is Dave Navarro, man. From Chili Peppers. He loves guitar. He loves music. Neil Sean, All you got to do to know that Neil Sean is the real deal is go watch his Instagram. He posts Instagram clips every day playing a different guitar. That's how much he loves it. And he comments and talks to people, and he's so accessible. I mean, that tells you so much about it. Like, we all make up our own opinions if somebody's an asshole or not, but it's based on nothing. Like, when these guys don't have to be out there interacting and hanging with fans and doing, videos and comments and stuff, like, they don't have to do that. They're famous. They ain't got to do that. Yeah, man. Like, just super, super great guys, man. With that said, I've been very, very lucky. All my guys have been great. If you want to have an opportunity to hang out this year with Brent, Steve Morse, Andy Timmons, Jake Workman, Ariel Posen, I invite you to hit the Woodshed Guitar Experience. That is in September. We have some slots left, and it is a 4-day weekend hanging out with those guys and myself, some of the best players in the industry. And we'll be talking tone and amps and gear and making it a good time. That's it looks like Chuck has got it right here with the dates. Crossville. There's Steve Morse, Brent Mason, Timmons. Yeah, the squad. Ariel Posen's going to be there. Tom Quell's coming to cut you up with his legato. And let me clarify, you don't have to be a monster player to attend. You don't have to be a terrifying musician to attend to this. Most guys are weekend warriors that come to this thing. It's just an opportunity to learn and fellowship and be around some great keepers of the flame, so to speak, right? And if you like what we do here, jump over to my Patreon. That's how I keep the lights on. YouTube doesn't care about me. But the Patreon machine keeps it running. Patreon.com/AndyWoodMusic. I'll be posting lots of tasty treats from this weekend. I've got a cell phone filled up with all goodies from videos from this week and this weekend and the show on Sunday. And I'm going to be putting together some videos for that, as well as hundreds of hours of content on Patreon. It's a wall of content. So if you want to improve your playing, if you want to learn about my rigs, if you want access to tablatures and video lessons, all the things, everything that I'm about and we talk about is over at patreon.com/AndyWoodMusic. You can subscribe for $5 and get access to the whole video wall and get access to hundreds of hours of content for $5 a month. General, man, you rule, my friend. I thank you for hanging out and just let me tell some stories. It looks like Joe Wyatt is in the house, and he's saying he's got some photos and videos as well that we'll be putting up on Patreon. It looks like, yeah, the chat is rolling. I didn't really do much Q&A today. I hope that's okay. I just thought it'd be fun to just tell some really nice things that I've been able to experience about meeting your heroes, because in this industry, they always say, don't meet your heroes. But I've been very lucky, and a lot of these guys have just been the best. So I hope this was, a fun part of your day, and thank you for spending time with me and taking time out of your week to hang out and listen to me. Appreciate you so much, and do all the YouTube things, all the subscribes and likes and clicks and twist it, bop it, turn it, slam it, all that kind of stuff. Do all those things. Appreciate you guys. I will be digging back into some sessions here for a little bit, and then I'll be switching gears and making video content for the Patreon. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon. Be blessed.